Hi there. Welcome to our a special event, Back to School Thriving Through the Unusual. Whether you're at home or in the classroom, we know that this year has been unlike any other that we've ever seen. And tonight we wanted to just get together and talk through some strategies of how we can actually manage through one of probably the most difficult times in our history and in our lifetime, and still be at this place where we're thriving and not just surviving. So welcome and thank you so much for being here. Um, I wanted to just first introduce your host for this evening. I'm Addie Spahr Kim, and I am joined tonight by Denise Pesavento. We're going to give you a little more background about each of us in just a second, but really what we are two moms with one common mission. And our mission is to really help strengthen your foundational health and keep your family thriving through the school year, but really all year. And tonight we're going to share with you some great tips to help you do this, and also talk about some of our own personal health transformations and why we're so passionate about talking to others about this. So as I said, I'm Addie. I am a mom of two boys in third and fourth grade, and I am the founder of Elevated Mama Life. And my passion is really helping busy moms achieve optimal wellness and build a life that they love.
So, I am Denise, and I'm super excited to be here. Thanks, Addie, for a great intro. I am a mom to three kids. They're this year in grades sixth, third, and second grade. I'm a wellness entrepreneur, writer, and a group fitness instructor. And mostly, I just love helping my friends kind of and find healthy habits and build foundational wellness in a way that works for them. So thanks so much for joining us. We are so excited to kind of get right into it. So we want to talk about first, what does this new school year mean to you? We've just kind of been through such a crazy year with this year, with 2020. It's just been up and down. So typically we think about backpacks and lunch boxes and school supplies. And some of you, maybe your kids are going back to school in person, and that's awesome. Others have more of a hybrid model, and others, like my kids, and right now Addie's kids as well, are at home doing remote learning. So whatever your model is, we hope to kind of lay out some habits and some tips that resonate with you and that could be workable in your family. So for us, summer was sort of a free-for-all, and now we're looking to get back into routines that anchor us all in the health habits, especially as we get into flu season. And these health habits really are about supporting our learning, a good learning environment for our kids, and healthy social emotional development. So right now, back to school can mean getting back into routines, setting alarms, and focusing on quality sleep, planning healthy meals and snacks. And then, as I said, also kind of supporting the social emotional well-being, not just of our kids, but of ourselves. We need to kind of be thinking about how we can take care of ourselves. So let's just kind of to paint a picture. This is our healthcare report card. So we took some statistics here that were actually paint a picture of what health looked like for us before the pandemic. So this gives you an idea of the types of the lost school days due to just regular sickness, and also how much the typical flu season, has affected or can affect our families. Rates of disease and chronic illness are on the increase, as well as just, your everyday kind of illnesses and things like that. So, I think that what we really want to stress here is that it can sort of become the norm to have illness become the norm. And what we really are thinking about here is that, what COVID-19 did, in a lot of ways, it pointed out some vulnerabilities that we have existed within our healthcare, or within the way we approach health, rather. Um, and really, this is just about having an opportunity here. We are so hopeful, because now we have an opportunity to evaluate what's been working and change the things that haven't been. And so, what we're going to talk about today are all these ways of kind of we can turn these trends around and really support our families through flu season and beyond. So now that's sort of what the illness aspect looks like. Addie's going to get more into the environmental kind of threats that we have been facing. So Addie, can you kind of lay that out?
Yes, and our goal is not to paint all of the gloom and doom. We just want to get this part out of the way so that then we can talk about all of the ways that we can manage through the existing realities that we faced. So as Denise just pointed out, the pandemic has highlighted a lot of weaknesses in our health. And and part of that reason we have these health weaknesses or vulnerabilities is because our environment has a lot of weaknesses. And the sad part of that is that a lot of the weaknesses in our environment are because of all of the ways that we have evolved, um, as a society, right? And the impact that we humans are having on our environment. And so now we have this negative cycle where we're making our environment sick, and then in turn, we're getting sick because of all of the things in our environment. So just to paint this, picture a little more clearly, in a nutshell, our world has just become much more toxic. Humans have created thousands of chemicals that have not been tested for their effect on our health, yet we are exposed to them daily. These toxins or chemicals are in our foods, everything from just pesticides and insecticides that are meant to kind of protect some of our foods, but then also additives that are placed in a lot of our processed foods. We also have chemicals in our beauty and cleaning products, even in the materials of things in our home, like the paint on our walls and the materials on our couches and our rugs, everything, all of it, right? Um, so it's something to just be really aware of. One of the ingredients that has really wreaked havoc for us is glyphosate, which is the main ingredient in Roundup. And so in the 1990s, there was this huge spike in the use of Roundup to really try to protect our farmlands and be able to make sure that we are harvesting enough food to provide all of our to provide the demand. And so as a result, what happened with that is that we had what ended up happening, and unfortunately, is that we ended up having a decreased soil quality. The All of the insecticides and pesticides ended up killing off a lot of the healthy bacteria that was in our soil that actually we were consuming from our fruits and vegetables, and that was protecting our gut. And then it's even been shown to have a linkage to an increase in cancers. So sometimes the things that we are doing end up backfiring and creating more vulnerabilities and illness, and making our health at more risk. So as if that wasn't enough to keep us up at night, one of the things that's happened since this whole COVID-19 has taken place is that there was this whole upsurge in demand for two main things. And if you remember when we first shut down, there were two things that you could not get on the shelves: toilet paper and hand sanitizer. So now what's happening is that because of the precautions that we need to take to protect ourselves from the coronavirus, and this is not in any way saying that we should not take any of these precautions, because we should be doing everything possible to keep ourselves and our family safe. But what has now happened is that now hand sanitizer, which has actually been under a lot of scrutiny over the years because of a lot of the chemicals placed in hand sanitizers and links to different health effects. Now you see it everywhere, right? We go to the grocery store, everything is disinfected. You see hand sanitizers at every checkout station, whether you're at the grocery store or the bank, or now it'll be in our schools if you're actually going back to school. And what's interesting about that is hand sanitizers are composed of a number of different ingredients that have been shown to have negative effects on things like our fertility, our fetal development, respiratory issues, and even to be a hormone or endocrine disruptor. So that is really kind of scary when you think about our children and their growing bodies and them being exposed to a lot of different chemicals. So as one of these studies points out, it's always recommended to wash hands with soap and water to really eradicate germs. And a lot of what we're going to talk about tonight is really just kind of making sure that we're thinking about different choices that we can make to have the safest choices and protect our bodies, but that also put us at the lowest risk of exposure to toxins. So having talked through all of that, I know that was a lot. So we'll just digest that for a minute. But now we want to go in and talk about what are the solutions that we can do to kind of deal with all of these things that we're exposed to on a daily basis, and not have it paralyze us, right? So I'm going to turn it back over to Denise to talk about this.
Yeah, and I think it's so, I mean, I actually think that all of this stuff is so fascinating, but I just do want to stress that we feel so hopeful and so optimistic, because there are concrete things that we can all do to kind of balance out some of the challenges that we have. So what we wanted to do is really get into the how, but make it simple. So we've narrowed our guidance down to the core four, to which are areas to focus on. Now, if you look at this list, none of it is going to seem like rocket science. I mean, it's nothing crazy. Hydration, drink more water, fitness, get more active, sleep more, stress less. That's all in, reducing anxiety and all of that stuff. And then the fourth area, nutrition, is an area that we're really going to take a deep dive in. But right now, let me go into the first three. And I'm going to share just quick tips and practices, in the hopes that some of it will resonate with you, and you'll be able to kind of pick and choose things you want to try to work into your daily lifestyle. I really think that we all need to find habits that are workable within the systems that we have in our families, and it can take some experimentation. So I'm going to throw out some ideas for in all of these areas, but also know that you can feel free to reach out to Addie or to me if you want more involved support in any of these areas, or get with the person that invited you or shared this recording with you. So let's talk about hydration first. So the formula for how much water you should drink in a day is you take your body weight in pounds, divide that number in half, and then that number is the number of ounces of water you should be drinking a day. So more if you're sick, more if you're working out a lot and it's hot out and you're sweating more. More if you're drinking a lot of like caffeinated drinks that are diuretics and things like that. So the minimal guideline is that half of your weight in ounces. So a lot of people say to me when they first hear this, they say, there's no way I can drink that much water. So just know that's the goal. And you can train your body to get in the habit of consuming that much water. And at first, it can feel like a challenge, and that's okay, but you can get there. So what I like to do is whenever we're talking about introducing a new habit into our routines, I always like to think of it as habit stacking. I like to use this approach of you find the things that you're already doing in your day and you attach that new habit that you're introducing to an already existing habit. So for example, I keep a glass of water on my on my bathroom sink next to my toothbrush. So I wake up in the morning, and before I brush my teeth, I drink a big glass of water. So that's my first thing that I do in the morning is I'm consuming water. I'm hydrating after a night's sleep. And then you're more likely actually to crave water throughout the day if you start to incorporate it more, and you will recognize your thirst cravings over cravings of snacks, salty or sweet foods, because a lot of times we mistake those cravings for thirst, actually. So the second area is exercise. So I really am not a huge fan of the term exercise because it has so many negative connotations for people. I like to think in more in terms of activity. And we're just talking about moving your body, just being active. And even just 10 minutes of activity can have physiological as well as psychological benefits. And so I like to really encourage everyone to think that anything is better than nothing. So if you make it fun and find what works for you and bring your family in, get the kids involved, you are so much more likely to really enjoy it and get something out of it, get more rewards out of it. Studies have shown women are more likely to work out, more likely to keep their fitness routine if they work out first thing in the morning, because we tend to put others' needs in front of ours. So if we don't get it done first, we tend to kind of let it go. The other thing, and this is kind of seems so simple, but even things like outfit changes or like having to take an extra shower in the day are things that can be deterrents. So I like to just kind of get dressed in my workout clothes, and it's like one less step to working out during the day if I'm not doing it first thing in the morning. And then finally, let's talk about sleep. So I don't know why, but I had this idea that, I would sleep train my kids when they were babies, and suddenly like everyone lives happily ever after and sleeps through the night for the rest of their lives. So if you have kids, you know that that's not true. And then, you might have yourself some difficulties either falling asleep or staying asleep. There's a lot of people who have trouble with this. So routines are awesome, and awesome for us and for our kids. Think about limiting screen time in the evenings. That blue light can really be a stimulant for us, and is kind of goes against our circadian rhythms. I like I like the app, and I've heard a lot of people have real good success with the app um, Insight Timer. I'm going to check on that because I'm just blanking. And that's a great sleep tool. So there's different apps out there. Addie's a big fan of CBD, so there's a lot of different things. But I do think that the main thing is focusing on really winding down, having a relaxing bedtime routine, and trying to keep it consistent. We also like to encourage people to maybe eat a little earlier so that that's not your food digesting isn't also something that is disturbing your sleep, because that can take away from restorative rest. And then finally, let's just talk about stress. So right now, anxiety levels, I think, in general in 2020 have been pretty high. And Addie and I were just talking before this call about the idea of like these transitions. So our kids are going back to school, and whenever we're facing a new transition, it just takes a lot. It takes a lot of our mental and emotional energy. So learning to calm our body, practicing things like deep breathing, and becoming in tune with our inner self can be so important. If you already have a mindfulness or meditation practice, that's awesome. If you don't, there are good reasons to get familiar with them or trying to start to adopt one. There's an emerging body of research that indicates mindfulness can help children improve their abilities to pay attention and to calm down. And also, when they see you do it, you're modeling that for them. I have a video of me doing like just a simple body scan meditation with my kids. And it's just great for all of us just to kind of develop a practice of just kind of stepping into our body, taking some deep breaths, and trying to like learn how to regulate ourselves, because it's a challenge. So those were like the three main points, the three parts of the core for, excuse me, that I just kind of blasted through. Again, reach out if you want any specific or further detailed information. Addie, let's talk about nutrition now.
Okay, and let me just say that Denise is always putting out great content on the activity, the movement portion of it. So she's a great person to connect with on all of that. But I really think that you know it has to be this holistic approach, right? And that's what we talk about a lot. So those three things that we just talked about are really that they're critical, but we kind of look at them as all of the support practices that we need every single day. And the foundation of our core is this nutrition piece. And this is so critical on so many levels, and really is what can make the difference between us thriving through the school year or all year long, but then or just feeling like we're just barely surviving. This component has been probably the biggest piece to what has transformed our personal health stories, and then also our families. And we're going to talk about those in just a minute. But really, let's just kind of take a minute to think about, why do we need plants or a mostly plant-based diet, right? And we're talking about just making sure that you're getting as many fruits and vegetables as you can, and you're eating a rainbow of fruits and vegetables. So you're really benefiting from the phytonutrients from all of the different types of produce that exist. And we need this plant-based diet because it supports our digestive system, it supports our immune system, it also protects our brain and our nervous system. And we need all of these things functioning together to really be at optimal health. And plants are critical not just for our physical well-being, but also our mental well-being. Denise just described to you a bunch of, strategies for getting better sleep and also reducing your stress. Well, what we put in our bodies is also a big part of that whole cycle, right? Like if we're not eating well, we tend to not sleep well, then we tend to not be motivated to exercise. And then maybe we're not hydrating enough, or maybe we're not getting the right kinds of hydration. And so that is getting us out of balance and other ways. So we really want you to think of it as like this pie with different pieces, or this beautiful plate as you see on the screen right here, and really fueling all of these different things, but making sure that nutrition is a big part of that. And so I want to just take a second and ask a question, put a question out there to you, and have you think about, are you honestly eating 7 to 13 different fruits and vegetables every single day? So I know that Denise and I would not be raising our hands
Nope.
to answer this question, right? And most of us don't. In fact, only 1 in 10 adults actually eats the recommended fruits and vegetables on a regular basis.
And we're talking like every day too. That's the hard part.
Every single day, right? This is what we're recommended to do every single day. We are wellness professionals, and we still find this a challenge. So we get it. If you feel like that's impossible, or that's really, seems unrealistic, but this is based on, research and studies of like how our bodies were designed to function, and what's going to make them feel the best. It's also about longevity, right? About disease prevention, because up to 75% of diseases are preventable with good nutrition. Well, since we've just talked about how we know this is hard, now we're going to talk about something that has been a game changer for us. And that is the power of powdered produce. So, as much as I love to make smoothies and juice and eat fruits and vegetables and really have all of my meals to be balanced, that is often just not a reality in my world, and I'm sure in yours. When you have busy schedules and you're going from one place to the next, or even if you're at home all the time, it can just be exhausting, right? Like for the last 6 months, we have been cooking most of our meals at home, cleaning all the dishes, and you kind of get on the hamster wheel, and sometimes it just becomes really exhausting to think about how to always get different kinds of meals that are nutrient rich, and that also taste good, and then you have different palates to satisfy within your household. So we totally understand the challenge of this. So that is why we are so grateful that there is something called Juice Plus, which is just nutrition from 30 different fruits, vegetables, and berries. It comes in a capsule or a chewable. And what's really cool about this particular product is that it is not a vitamin. We often call it a vitamin and, we'll say, oh, I got to take my vitamins. But what you're really doing is just consuming food that comes in a capsule or a chewable and is in a bottle that looks like a vitamin bottle. What the difference is that Juice Plus produce is harvested at peak ripeness. So you have that nutrition staying intact. And then the produce is pulverized. It's not even just juice. So what the difference is that you're getting the peel, you're getting the seeds, you're getting the parts of these plants that actually have a lot of the vitamin and nutrient matter in them. And then they're turned into powders at low temperatures that preserve those nutrients. And then they're just put into these vegetarian capsules or into chewables, which our kids have been taking for years and have made a huge difference in their particular health. The other thing about Juice Plus is that it's the most researched nutritional product in the world. In the world, it has over 40 gold standard studies that prove its impact on different health markers. And so those are things that really, I guess, stood out for Denise and I and the many other people that have added Juice Plus as a staple into their daily health routine, because really there's nothing else out there that actually is as bioavailable and does what Juice Plus has been proven to do in the body. So this has become our number one health tool for consistent intake of plants into our bodies every single day, so that we know that we're bridging the gap on the days that we aren't going to consume the 7 to 13 different fruits and vegetables. So um, so from that, we wanted to just kind of talk for a minute about the impact that this has actually had. So I'll just quickly tell you a little bit about my health history, and then that of my family. So if you look at the top left picture, that is my oldest son, Van, when he was just about a year old. And you can see that his face is very inflamed and he has eczema on his cheek, over his eye. Where you don't see it is that it is under his knees and in the creases of his arms, which are where, you get sweat and it gets hot, and then where eczema is likely to actually to be. So anyways, he was a kid that was born into the world with all kinds of digestive issues and food sensitivities. And because of all of these things and happening in his little body, he was very, very inflamed. And so it took me a while to really sort through these challenges. But I was determined to do so much so that I actually changed careers and became a certified health coach so that I could really dig deep and figure out how to heal his poor little body that was really suffering. Also because I had had a number of my own health issues, digestive issues for years, all the way from childhood into early adulthood. And I had done a lot of changes that had really helped me transform my own personal health. But I knew I had more work to do. So this was another way for me to just keep learning, keep educating, and making changes. About 2 years into his life, and then when I also had become a mom of my youngest, Dax, he was about 6 months at the time. Someone shared Juice Plus with me, and at the time, I thought I was doing all the right things, eating lots of fruits and vegetables. But it really wasn't until Juice Plus came into our life that I slowly noticed things beginning to change. After several months, Van's eczema started to become much less. And then within a couple years, it completely disappeared. And now he doesn't suffer from it at all. My little boy, who had lots of respiratory issues, was on a nebulizer, then it became an inhaler, and now doesn't need any of that respiratory support at all. And then for all of us, like, what has happened is that it has just boosted our immune system to the point where my kids rarely miss a day of school. Only one has ever had an antibiotic, and that was only one time. We have not had the flu for over 5 years, or any of the major illnesses that typically a lot of other people we see facing. Not that we don't ever feel tired or feel run down or have, a runny nose or a cough or something like, or some mild allergy symptoms, but it isn't severe. And we've really been able to take control of our health in a big way. So anyways, I could talk about all of this forever. Clearly, I'm very passionate about it. And there's a lot of things that I have done to support these health transformations, but I know hands down that adding Juice Plus into our bodies every single day for now over 7 years has been the biggest catalyst for our consistent good health. And I know Denise has some really powerful stories of her own to share, so I'll turn it to her.
Yeah, I love seeing these photos. I mean, it's just so fun to look at them, but also like really inspiring to see kind of the transformation and to see the changes that have happened. Um, you know, our stories are really similar in that our kids both have allergies, which were really like the start of kind of this whole journey in a way. But really, the other thing is that, I mean, regardless of what kind of the state of your family's health looks like, I mean, there's just nothing the same, nothing like kind of the responsibility of being our kids' primary health advocates, right? Like, I mean, we can kind of put our own health to the side or like maybe let some chronic things, nagging things, kind of go unreally attended to. But when it comes to our kids, it's like impossible to do that, you know? And I just think that there's just nothing like the motivation that comes from, you know, when you see your child going through something. And that's what happened for me with my second daughter, Samantha, whose picture is in the on the right side, but in that left corner, and her eyes are all rashy. This is a picture when she was older, and she was having a reaction to something. But when she was a baby, she stopped sleeping around 4 months because we found out later that she had food allergies, severe nut allergies, and an allergy to egg. And so I was nursing at the time, so I had to cut that out. And then and then it resolved, it got better. But she had these food allergies. My oldest daughter also had developed a nut allergy. And then when my son was born, I had been cutting a lot of foods out of my diet. And he started to have GI issues despite the fact that I was cutting a lot of the key allergens out. And he developed an allergy to dairy and soy. So as they got older, they ended up growing out of some of these allergies. But it did have an impact on me as well because first of all, it's very stressful when you're trying to navigate the different dietary needs of your kids. But also, because I was nursing and wanted to continue nursing, I really had to overhaul how I ate and my diet. And I really realized my background is I've always been an athlete and always been very active. And I thought I knew good nutrition and my nutrition was in a great place. But here it wasn't. I didn't have the foundational nutrition in place to carry my body through the demands of being a mom to 3 kids while nursing and not sleeping because, you know, they were sick or weren't sleeping because of their allergies. And then really what happened was I started to get really sick, like I've never been in my life. And just had infection after infection, and I felt like the carpet was pulled out from underneath me, and the second I would stand up, I would just fall over again. And so that's really what brought me to Juice Plus. It was like really out of a state of desperation for myself, for my kids. And when Addie, luckily, thankfully, shared Juice Plus with me, I really didn't understand what it was. I just took it because I trusted her. And I was like, okay, I'll just try this. And it didn't take long, to be honest, before I realized, wow, I'm not getting sick anymore. It has not cured their food allergies. Some of them they naturally outgrew, but they do have environmental allergies, and two of my kids do still have the nut allergies. But that's all the more reason why I feel like it's so important to support their bodies, especially their gut, nutritionally, and just feed them as much of the phytonutrients, get that into their body as possible, because they already have these things going on. So I always say that my biggest regret when it comes to Juice Plus is that I didn't know about it sooner, and that I didn't start it from the second, before I was pregnant, or when I at the latest when I was pregnant with my first. Um, I don't believe that I've not found any other way to get the quality, quantity, and variety of nutrition in my family's bodies consistently. There's just no other way. So I am so thankful for this product, and really feel like it has um, made a difference in my family's health. So I'm excited to be able to share that with you, and super passionate about it. And as I said earlier, we're happy to kind of talk more about stuff one-on-one. But let's get back, let's kind of take a little different direction here. Let's take a turn and talk about some more back to school survival or thrival hacks, we should say. So in addition to Juice Plus, because that is probably hands down our favorite hack from a nutrition perspective, I want to talk about some things that kind of might be good tips that you want to incorporate, that have helped me so far, and Addie might have some to add as well. But for one thing, I think it's always a good idea to, regardless of what back to school looks like for you right now, whether you're physically leaving the house and dropping your kids off, or whether they're working, whether they're at home, or whether you work from home or outside the home, whatever that is. I think it's important to wake up at the same time every day, to set your and their circadian rhythm, and have them kind of get a routine established. So it's not crazy in the morning. Some people, and I really know that I do better if I can wake up a little bit earlier than the kids, but then that also has to start then the night before by making sure that you get your sleep so that you can get out of bed. So it's kind of, you may have to work backwards on that one. I also think that it's a good idea, as I said before, to reduce your screen time in the evening. And then as far as like the mechanics of the day, I've really found that when we wake up, because a lot of us are thinking about, okay, how do we feed our kids and get what we need done, and get them the help they need, but then feed them and feel like we're having some space in the day. So what is helping us so far is that our kids eat breakfast, and while they're eating breakfast, we're packing their lunches so that whenever they have their breaks or their lunch break or snacks, they can go ahead and grab their stuff on their own. We got a little hand timer for my son, so that he knows when to go back after his breaks, and so I'm not always kind of standing over him. But a lot of these things are just really about how can we support our kids and help them be consistent. But I do think it's a good idea to also keep any of these routines also flexible. And I think the main thing is just have grace for yourself, because there's no perfect way to do this. We're making it up as we go. We were doing that before the pandemic, and we're certainly doing it now. And you are the best judge, so I think that it's always it's always a good reminder that just listen to your intuition, and give yourself grace and self-compassion, and just do what works. And if the next day it's not working, you just do the next right thing. So Addie, let's Do you have anything to add to that list before we wrap up?
Well, I will just add, I mean, I think those are all super great ideas, and good reminders, even as I'm listening, of, yeah, I need to even just like getting up at the same time every day. And something I haven't been doing a great job of since we started distance learning is the packing the lunches so that those are done, because I've found that the last couple weeks where, I'm so focused on kind of helping them navigate through the morning, and then it's like, oh yeah, okay, it's lunchtime. What are we gonna fix? What are we gonna do? Um, where I think being um, having some planning around that can actually make it a lot less stressful for everyone. So I think that's a really good reminder. Something that I do like to do is usually like on, a Sunday, or even if it ends up being a Monday afternoon, is I will have bought a bunch of fresh fruit and veggies that I know they like, and I'll chop them up and I'll just put them in glass containers and store them in the fridge, so that when they're hungry, either I can grab stuff out and quickly put it on their plates, or in snack trays, or put it in their lunches easily, like if we're that organized and packing them ahead of time, or just setting them out and letting them snack on it. So little things like that, I think, can make all the difference. And then one of the other things that I've been doing recently is buying like healthier cereal, um, different healthier cereals. So like, you know, some like Cascadian Farm has a Fruit Loop like snack cereal, that I end up mixing with like some other healthy cereals, and I put it into little containers. And then like when they're sitting on some of their class calls, they have a little snack that they can just, pick from, as they're staying focused. But then I set it up in the morning next to their workstation. So that way, when their teachers are like, oh, grab a snack, we're not all scrambling. So little things like that, which can just save you time, save you stress, and also make sure that your kids are getting foods that you can feel really good about. So those are the only quick things that I would add, to all those other great ideas that you just listed, Denise. And I think that, really our whole point is just to acknowledge that things are really freaking crazy right now. And they can be all of the time, right? Parenthood is a challenge no matter what. It's full of lots of rewards and lots of joys. But I heard um, one story. I forget. I saw this quote one time. Maybe it was the Honest Company, that basically said something like, "Parenthood is basically like running the blender with the lid off." And like things are just chaotic
That's
and swirling
amazing.
around,
Yeah.
and you don't know where they're going to go or where they're going to end up or what the mix
Hmm.
is going to look like at the end. But that I felt like was a kind of an interesting metaphor. But what we really want to just, come back to is this idea that we're fueling our bodies, we're fueling their bodies, and fueling their futures. We know that, good health is such an indicator of how well your kids can thrive in school and hold attention, and even feel confident and be able to interact with their peers. So there are a lot of different reasons why this, should be a focus. But we also know that there are a lot of things that there are to worry about in the world. And if it's not a global pandemic, it could be wildfires or tornadoes or hurricanes, or droughts, or even just being out of work or stuck at home, and around your kids 24/7. All of that is super, super taxing. But the one thing that we know that you can control is what you put in your body. So our goal was just to give you some ideas of how to really like harness all of the options that you have available to really help you thrive in this one really key area, so that when all of these hardships, that you're faced with, are there, you feel like you're better prepared to navigate through them, and at least come at it with a place of where you don't feel like you're just treading water all the time, and that you can actually still thrive despite all of the craziness. One last thing that we did just want to share with you, we did talk a lot about Juice Plus because this has made such an impact in our life. And one of the things that the Juice Plus company does, which is pretty amazing, is that they have a Healthy Starts for Families program. So you can actually sponsor a child. It can be your own, it can be another one, and get Juice Plus for free for up to 4 years when you have a qualifying order. And so that is a really awesome program because it's a way to really get this nutrition into your family affordably. I know it made a big difference when both of us wanted to start, and we were trying to figure out how can we, incorporate this in, and be able to budget for it. So that's something that you can get more information about from either of us or whoever shared this with you. So we just want to wrap up and say thank you, for being here. Just you listening to us tonight shows that you are, being a role model for your kids and really concerned about how to maintain good health overall. So thank you so much again. And if you want to connect with us, this is how you do that. You can find Denise at Crazy Healthy Happy on Instagram. You can find me at Elevated Mama Life. You can also find us on Facebook or email us, or go to our websites. And yes, thank you. Thank you again for being here. Denise, did you have any final words?
No, thank you. Thanks, everybody. And we're always happy to answer questions, or connect you with someone who can help.
Great. Awesome. Well, thank you guys. And good luck navigating through the fall.
All right. Thanks, Addie. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.